Shoppers crave personalized experiences from the brands they love, and a great mobile app from favorite brand does exactly that. And that is where you need ImShop. Fast launch with any e-commerce platform, utilize advanced loyalty programs, retain customers with community, improve conversion with content, assist your customers anytime. Best thing about ImShop, you can launch a fully functional mobile app with all the benefits in just 6 to 8 weeks due to ready integrations. Join many retail leaders who already use ImShop. imshop.ai, apps for e-commerce and retail. Hey, hello everybody and welcome to the podcast. My name is Filip Lubkowski, I'm the host of the show, and today we're going to talk about the DTC e-commerce and DTC retail, because I have a fantastic guest for you. I will be talking to Marco Brucato, who is the head of e-commerce and digital transformation in DTC of a company called Beko. Not everybody might know Beko, but you certainly know many brands that Beko produces. Hi, Marco.
Ciao, Phil. How are you? Everything good?
Very good. Thank you very much for finding time for us today and joining for this conversation. I have many questions about the DTC and e-commerce, and I'm sure that you can really shed some light on some of those topics in the DTC world.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So please tell me a little bit more about Beko, because I know the company and I certainly know the brand, but maybe some of the listeners and viewers have no idea what actually Beko stands for.
Absolutely. So Beko is a Turkish company, and Beko Europe, that is the company that I work for, is the European operation of the company. Actually, Beko Europe is the combination of two companies that did a joint venture in Europe in 2024. There is the Whirlpool Corporation so the EMEA operations and Beko Europe. The joint venture, it's called Beko Europe, and it's one of the biggest producers in Europe for major appliances. All the major brands that you know, Whirlpool, Hotpoint, Beko, Bauknecht, Privileg, Grundig, several brands. We have 16 brands that we play with in Europe, and it's a very big company, and several very important brands, very well established and very well known.
So, from the name of your position in the business, the head of e-commerce, DTC, and digital transformation, it sort of points out all of the key things that all of the major retailers are dealing with these days. Can you maybe tell me your opinion on what is DTC business today for a large brand generally? Because it could be fashion brand, it could be electronics, but DTC is a very special beast for any business these days.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, as you said, it's a special business, but it's a necessary business that all the companies should be dealing with. And the more you understand it, you see, the more you want it, because it's a way to be so much closer to your consumers. It's a way to make sure that you don't lose the connection. You can always get the connection with the consumer, understand what are their needs, understand what they're looking for, have one party data that is very important in this business, because data is something that is unique. And this is something that you can't have in any other way. You need to nurture a relationship with the consumers, and to do so, you need a D2C.
So the essence of DTC, in your opinion, is this direct communication, right, with the first-party data and with
Yeah,
your consumer.
absolutely. And actually having a DTC also means another thing. That is the presence and guaranteeing the presence of the company on one of the biggest digital shelves of the world. Having a D2C means making sure that you do appear on Google Shopping, or that you are relevant on ChatGPT, or that you do appear on Gemini or wherever. You can control it just when you have a D2C. That's one of the biggest leverages that D2C has.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually, especially about the the chatbots and all of the chat GPTs of the world where everybody are searching.
Yeah, otherwise you are delegating your online presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have a simple website doesn't allow you to be present on Google. You're going to be present, yes, but not Google Shopping. how do you make sure that you can actually be visible to your consumers? Then consumers have to buy wherever they feel that is the best choice for them. But this is about visibility. I wouldn't say that D2C is about sales. D2C is mainly about making sure that your company appears where the consumer is looking for your products, especially when you talk about complex sales, where consumers have to browse a lot and have to, let's say, make up their idea throughout a period of time. How do you make sure that you are in that journey? Are you going to have a D2C that will control it and will help the consumer in streamlining their opinions? If so, that is, for me, that is one of the best ways to do so.
Interesting. Yeah. And that actually allows you to tell the story of the brand because the business might be very good in any of the B2B channels or marketplaces, but it only allows you to tell the story of the brand to a certain extent, right? From a
Yeah,
content perspective.
I
Interesting.
fully agree. I fully agree. And actually, D2C allows you to tell about your product in your environment, and you can create your own house
Hmm.
around how you want to build the story. And that is unique, right? You can't do it anywhere else. And so the digital presence through that, it has to be
Yeah.
very well thought with a size scope, I would say.
Interesting. And what would you name like the key touch points in the DTC consumer journey today?
Look, so it really depends on the product category, in my opinion. There are certain categories where the purchase can be easier. For example, I was before in Kraft Heinz as a company. In Kraft Heinz, it's not a complex sale, right? So you just need to decide if you want to buy a ketchup or not. It should be quite easy. But that is completely different. Why do you want a D2C? Well, probably because I want to drive something else to my consumers. They don't need to discover the product itself. Maybe they need to discover how I can use that product, how I can inspire them through my website and D2C. And then I can give them some highly wanted gadgets because especially for Heinz, Heinz it's a brand that is completely loved around the world and everyone wants Heinz gadgets. That's incredible because it's simply ketchup, but that is the truth. And then you go through different categories. Like think about Apple, right? I mean, when you have to buy an iPhone, you go on Apple
Hmm.
and you go there because you know that. I mean, price of course is consistent, whatever, and you know in advance that you want that product. So you probably are not going to go through a complex journey. But if you go to a commodity, and a commodity is a product that several companies produces, and that can be and for the consumer it's hard to understand the differences between the products, then probably there will be more touch points. And if that's the case, you as a company need to make sure that you are present in all of those touch points because consumers' mind are easy, let's say, not easy to get to a final decision. And this is why we need to make sure every company has to make sure that you are present in every single touch point where the consumer will generate its own idea.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that Apple is a very good example because, yeah, this is one of the examples where you really want to go into a physical store to get all of the experience over there
Yeah,
to
yeah,
touch the new product when the new iPhone comes out or the new iPad or something.
yeah. And actually, let's say think about some touch point could be very interesting today is how the touch points are changing today
Mm,
because touch points were completely different like 1 year and a half ago, and
hmm.
that's incredible. I do personally, if I need to buy something today, I don't go on Google, I don't go on Amazon, I immediately go on ChatGPT and I try to ask what is the product that it would recommend. And this is a change, this is a shift. We weren't having this touch point before. And how delayed can you be as a company in making sure that you are there and that you are controlling the information about your products, about your brands? How much can you delay that decision? How much can you, or how much are you already in delay today in making sure that you need to be there? And
Interesting.
yeah, that's a new from a while, I would say now. And every company should really be focusing a lot today if they didn't yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. And that also brings up this topic of, landing page. Where do you land your consumer? So once they've searched for something, like we used to say Googled for something, now I guess we don't say Google anymore because it's like, who knows where they're going to be searching. But once they've searched for something that might be very specific that your product solves for them and their like consumer mission, the landing page better really answer this very, very well. So once they have the answer on the ChatGPT, how many times have you clicked on the link from ChatGPT and then you go to the website and you're like, really not that, like I today we expect so much more from the ChatGPT itself that it will be so precise in the kind of recommendation that is giving, that we expect that where it lands us is the best solution, and we only want one link and one link only, but that should be the best one.
And I totally agree with you. And this is probably also due to the brands in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because providing ChatGPT the right informations, it's key. It's crucial today. And making sure that making sure that information is organized in a way that we talk about ChatGPT, but it's about LLMs. So making sure that those informations are organized in the right way is one of the most important jobs, I would say, of 2025 for any company. It's not on 2026. It has to be already there, because in 2026, more and more and more consumers will continue choosing as a first touch point to go on ChatGPT. Of course, you don't do that for everything, but you do probably for complex sales. You do for sales or products that you still don't know what you want, or for products that are hard to find. These are the three categories of products that I see very likely that will have a first major step on ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree. Listen, I want to bring this conversation a little bit toward the other topic that I'm also very interested in. Because in the name of your position, you have this like European, so you're head of Europe's business, right? And I know this through firsthand that it's a very tough market because it's several markets, many, many markets in one geographical location, but markets are very different. People from outside view Europe as just like one country or something, like one place. But in reality, there are different legislations. There's a lot of different stuff. So tell me, being in charge of such a big conglomerate of important brands and for this geographical location, do you believe in the DTC that will be one suiting all Europe, or how do you approach this multi-market challenge?
So, long story short, do I see one D2C for all the markets? Yes and no. What I mean, I do believe in one very strong concept. There is the freedom within a framework. And especially for a business that manages multiple countries, this is even more important. And when it comes to businesses that do involve heavy investments, like the D2C, because D2C doesn't come for free. I mean, it's a business where you can invest money. So you have to create the framework. You have to define the strategy, the tech infrastructure, the governance, the KPIs, the teams, how it's going to be structured. So everything has to be at a high level defined centrally to allow efficiencies, of course, right? But then when it comes to execution, there needs to be a local freedom, because even in Europe, there are differences. There are a lot of differences actually in UX, in how consumers do expect the product, or how do consumer expects to search that product. This is changing also throughout Europe, where we should be, let's say, more or less similar, but it's not. And so localization can't be just about content translation. That is wrong. And every market needs to have a degree of freedom to localize and to make sure that they are served local consumer needs within a European global framework, wherever it is, within certain borders, within a strategy for, of course, detailed for every topic. But yes, with a degree of freedom. And this is always a choice, right? It's always control versus trust. And when you have an amazing team and a team that and so an amazing local team, you know that you can really count on and trust them and make sure that they do feel the freedom of doing whatever they believe is true is good for the local market.
Yeah. And they usually know the context of the market much better because, like, Spain or Italy cannot be more different from Northern Europe in terms of like the context of wearing, if it's a fashion brand, if any other brand.
Absolutely, yeah. I always do this example about German people. You
Hmm.
can't say what you're saying to an Italian or a Spanish guy in the same way to a German guy. You can't. You simply can't. Because German do expect much more details, a much
Hmm.
more precise and technical way of looking at the product. So you need to tailor the informations. Again, it's not just translation. It would be amazing if it was just translation. It would make everything easier, but it's not. And when you in the game of optimization of everything, this really matters and really counts.
Yeah. Do you think that we will be able to tackle this using AI tools in the near future for the European market? I mean, in particular.
So I believe that yes, from a standpoint that is the content generation that we do actually use and apply already. The hardest part is to generate the local rules. So to make sure that you are feeding as a prompt to the tool, let's say the right localizations, okay, about content. When it's about UX, that is much harder. I didn't see anything yet on the market that really serves this need. UX or also visual content, it's much harder in this moment, much harder. I don't know if we will ever get there, but probably yes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And listen, another question I also really want to ask is this duality between sales through a DTC and the sales through marketplaces, because both are quote unquote e-commerce, right? I don't believe in e-commerce so much in 2026 because I think that it's all now one big retail because the consumer doesn't feel the difference between all those channels. It's only us professionals having this kind of like difference in our heads. But in reality, they are different channels and you have limitations between them. And for a product like electronics where people really compare and takes a lot of time, and I think that there are many other categories where people do spend time to compare. How do you approach the the marks?
Well, they do serve a completely different scopes, I would say. When we talk about 3P marketplaces, you are in a place where traffic is there and you want to just propose your product to make sure that consumers that are still also making up their minds, because let's not forget, Amazon is the biggest digital shelf in the world. So it's the place where most of the product searches yet start. So you need to find a way to make sure that your products are there. Then is that the place where, and I'm talking about Amazon, I could name every retailer and every other marketplace. It doesn't matter. It's a place where consumers are. You need to be there 100%. But then when it's about product communication and making sure that the consumer do feel what are the differences about your product, then as I was saying before, your D2C is the core. And the D2C is the place where you can really talk about your product, where you can build the house around your product. You can build the whole environment around that. So yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes it's all about us as professionals. Consumers don't feel it. But let me tell you one thing. I do believe that consumers, anyway, for certain categories, do still feel that brands are more trustable or make them feel more comfortable or more safe when shopping online. Probably it's also a generation path. So the younger generation probably do feel it a little bit less. Older generations yet feel it a little bit more, in my opinion. So I don't have, let's say researches on that but this is what I have seen in the last years. Because actually, e-commerce is always about making sure that the consumers do feel safe, do feel in a space where they can give you the credit card number, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and that they will get what they are aiming for, and that they will get for that specific delivery date, or they will get that specific product without any issue. And buying from the producer sometimes could help in feeling this safety within the online environment.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, but I 100% agree because it's not only about the price, even sometimes. It might be that Marketplace could give you some kind of promotion or some kind of discount, but the DTC won't. But you still buy from DTC because the trust is there, because this kind of like buying from the source feeling is there. And this brings me to another question about the CRM activities and, this direct communication that you spoke about in the beginning of our conversation. How do you feel about the importance of building the CRM and this direct line of communication with your clients through the DTC?
Yeah, and especially in a appliance brand, it's very different when you have a purchasing path that lasts so long and a repurchase that lasts several years. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Um, CRM has a different scope compared to fast moving as I was before. That is, I don't need to push the consumer to try to come back to me to buy. What CRM serves in this case is more a brand recall and making sure that my consumer, whenever they will ever need another product, they will think to me as a brand as first. Because if a consumer, think about, I'm a consumer, I'm making up my idea, and I want to buy a new whatever thing, whatever object, and I come to your D2C as first or to your website, whatever, if it's a D2C or website, it doesn't change. But this is the first place where I start deciding what's important for me. Because if it's a product that I don't know in depth and I don't know what to expect, that is the place where I say, okay, I like this feature, I want this, or I want that, or I want that. Okay. And when you will start searching that feature somewhere else, maybe you're not going to find it. Maybe it's going to be different. Or maybe that set of features is going to be unique. But you like that. Okay. So that's the first impression as well. So we as a brand, all the brands have to make sure that their CRM works as, hey, don't forget about me. And so consumers can come to your website as first glance.
Okay, interesting. And what strategies are being used for the CRM retention for the brands where the repeat purchase is not as frequent as it is for the FMCG, for example?
Yeah. You gotta give different things. You make sure that people do feel you close as brand. That means, for example, in appliances, is okay, I tell you how to clean your product. I tell you how to make it last more. I tell you what are the products that, in my opinion, you should be using to make sure that your do these scaling cycles every year, for example. Telling you something about that product that you don't know and make them feel that you are an expert on that. The more the consumer will feel closer to your products and connected to that and connected to you because you've been helping and you've been giving informations that they didn't have, the more likely they will come back to you.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I also agree with the fact that, giving this care, even if the frequency is quite low for the brand and for the category, giving this kind of care, not asking to buy and buying, here's a discount for you, here's something else, just reminding, don't forget to replace the filter, don't forget to do this or that, even if maybe sometimes you're on a very high, like loyalty program tier or something like this, here is a free filter for you, right? Who knows? Maybe this might be part of your P&L.
And I'm fully aligned with that. Sorry, because I'm fully aligned with that. And that is a very important topic. So, yes, fully aligned.
Yeah, because that creates this feeling of like, yeah, the brand actually cares rather than just trying to push product and sell me something.
Yeah, and it's also about another topic that I like always to mention that is about the kind marketing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So because you can do every kind of marketing, right? You can do a very pushy marketing. You can try to be unkind with your consumers. Trying to push out the products, just trying to make sure, hey, this is a discount. Why don't you buy? Hey, this is something that is unkind. It's I don't think that so no consumers likes this. There's no one that can like this kind of behavior. Even though that you see that the major CRM programs works like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is strange, right? Why? Because when you then look at the numbers, number says yes, but if I send 100,000 emails more, I will sell more. Yeah, but that's not the way that you should be looking at that.
Yeah.
What do you care about CRM? Is it about the return on the single email, or is it about what I'm building for the brand? That is the real question to me. And the kind marketing, it's a dogma. It's something that you must apply always. You don't be pushy to your consumers. Don't become too so don't push frequency. Make sure that all the communications are pleasant, informative, and interesting for the consumer, so that you're gonna stay in their heart. Okay,
Yeah.
otherwise you get out.
Absolutely. I think that, like to add some practice to this, because I cannot agree more. So, looking only at the CRM share of revenue would be a description of a brand and a business that only looks at pushing something. But once you add like net promoter score, once you add any other KPIs to that, and you're not only looking at the KPI of the share of revenue for CRM, that would show something. And how is that connected to your marketing strategy in general? Because yeah, they're really different companies, and they approach this differently, like putting CRM under the e-commerce umbrella sometimes, or putting it under the broad marketing umbrella. And it's interesting that that's a very different topic of how companies today, in terms of organizational structure, are super confused, I think. Super confused. But it only works when there is one strategy for the business, and organizational structure actually support one strategy.
And the bigger it is, the company, the harder this becomes.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I know that you have big experience in opening new markets and moving into new markets. What would you say, like, the largest challenge today for the brand in opening a new market where the brand never sold before? And what should be like the first logical and best steps to start with?
What I can tell you is the biggest mistakes that I've seen throughout all my career. Several mistakes that I've seen. The biggest one is pretending that your product will sell, just putting it on the market. And that would be amazing. That would be amazing if it was true, but it's not. It's never true. So that is the best way to fail. The best way to fail is, yes, I take my products, I distribute those, I start selling those, or I put those in the market without thinking on, okay, but who's going to care about my products? Who's going to be interested in that? And it would seem obvious to put marketing plan, a strong marketing plan behind. That means the first year, probably I'm not going to make any money from that market. Maybe not even the first half of the second year, because I need to invest. I need to create whatever is awareness or whatever kind of funnel I want to cover. But I need to make sure that the consumers do understand why they should be buying my product and not a competitor's one, or what kind of need my product is filling that other products are not. This is the most basic thing, but I've seen it missing so many times that would seem incredible, okay? And this is the biggest one. I mean, it's common sense, right?
Yeah.
And our job is never, let's say, rocket science. It's never things that, wow, okay, it's like, I mean, going on the moon. No, I mean, it's common sense. You can't go into a market if you don't spend enough money in marketing and making sure that the product is covered. That's it. It's
Mhm.
simple.
Yeah, so you mean like a lot of companies feel that they already had some success on another market, or maybe their home market, right? And they feel like, yeah, it's just a cool product. We just move into the market, and everybody will start buying it without
Yeah,
us.
I've seen it happening so many times
Oh yeah.
in everywhere. companies have been working for, or competition companies, just throwing it on the market with a very poor marketing plan behind, or with a plan behind that wasn't thinking about the consumer needs.
Mm.
Because this is another thing that happens. You do a marketing plan, but that is completely useless because it's not talking to your consumers and it's not saying to your consumer anything that for them is relevant. That is another point.
Yeah.
So you gotta do a marketing campaign, yes. You gotta do it relevant for the consumer, talking about the features of that product, that or what are the benefits for that consumer in buying that product. If you can't do that and just think, yes, I'm big in this market, so I will be big in the other one. No, it's not gonna be working.
Yeah.
Actually, that is the biggest learning that I had when I was
Cool.
doing export.
Yeah, it seems very simple, but I mean, truly, I also see a lot of businesses doing this mistake. So, to wrap this very insightful conversation up, I want to ask you, like, what is the trend that you're most excited about for 2026 in retail, maybe in general, or in e-commerce?
So in this moment, what really where I spend a lot of time, let's say today, is in understanding better and better and better AI usage.
Mm-hmm.
Not because we are not using it, because we are using it quite heavily, but I see AI as everyone was giving a lot of money. That's the
Yeah.
same. I mean, at the end, money is an enabler, right? And AI is another enabler. Is giving you the possibility of doing something that you couldn't do before, no price, or at very low price, and things that you couldn't do just because were unaffordable. You couldn't have 15 content images all together in 1 minute. You had to go to an agency, you had to spend whatever thousand euros to get those contents. That was costly. Now you can have it in a matter of seconds. So it's like having a ton of money to be used on some topics, and you can use it now. What are you going to do? How are you going to use that money? How are you going to make efficiency throughout your processes? How are you going to cut some edges and make sure that you save time and actually money from the business? And this is something that is a very hot topic, I think, in every company. This is something that I believe will continue reshaping also 2026. I don't think AI is a hype, absolutely not. It is already generating revenues for whoever has been investing on that.
Or
It's
or cutting costs.
or cutting costs. That's it. Actually, for a company saying that you're gonna make money through AI, it's very hard. As of
Mm-hmm.
today, I see it as an efficient way of creating something or reshaping a process or making it better, making it working faster. I don't see, even though we're experiencing some ways, I don't see it as a massive producer of revenues today.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if we start counting money that ChatGPT will start generating whenever they will embed the product feed, and so you will be able to sell through ChatGPT. Well, that is an extreme, I would say. I wouldn't say that that is AI, let's say, money, but yes, absolutely. So that would be the only way, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely true. I heard this a good metaphor from the medical world. So when the X-ray was represented, it didn't mean that the doctors would be absent from that moment. It just meant that the
No.
doctors would have a better tool to tell if something is broken or not, or something that would take them much longer before. Now they can just click a button and just see what's there. So yeah, this.
Yeah, but you know what? So I mean, we always have to start from an assumption that is that work is not a variable that has a number in the world. Okay, it's absolutely infinite. Okay,
Yep.
so there's not an amount of work in the world, and so if part of that amount will be taken from AI for humans, there will be less. No, it's not about that. It's like when you have to do a slide. You can just put the title and an image. Fine. So 1 second and the slide is done. Or you can start zooming in, making sure that you start drawing on the right, then you put that, and you spend 5 days on that slide. The result is not changing. It's a slide, but you made it into different ways. If you can get that result of 5 days in a second because something is going to be making it, maybe that is interesting. But that is the concept. This is why I'm saying at the end, AI is like having a lot of money to be spent. That's the truth, because we're capable of doing things that before we couldn't because it was too costly in terms of time, in terms of money, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I only wish there were fewer AI generated comments on the LinkedIn, right? Because this amount is really disturbing.
Really, no, I'm not that expert on this topic of LinkedIn comments.
Oh yeah, there are many comments where you just can see that it's AI generated comments and on and on and on. There's a lot of them.
That's
I'm,
crazy.
I'm sure you're seeing some of those as well. Actually, write us in the comments of this video or a podcast that you're viewing right now, dear listeners and viewers, if if you encountered this one. Marco, thank you very very much for this wonderful, very insightful conversation. It's been a pleasure. And so let me wish you a great Christmas, Merry Christmas ahead. And listeners and viewers, please don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and Merry Christmas to all of you as well who is celebrating this, or the Happy New Year. And we'll see you very, very soon with the new episode.
Thank you, Philip. It
Thank you. Bye.
was a pleasure.